The Last Message from the Woods. Late one evening, Daniel was sitting alone in his small apartment, scrolling through his phone after a long day. Outside, the city was quiet and the rain gently tapped against the window. Suddenly, his phone vibrated with a new message. The message was from a contact he had not seen in years. It was from his old friend Mark. Daniel stared at the screen in shock. Mark had disappeared almost 3 years ago during a hiking trip in a large forest outside the city. Search teams had looked for weeks, but they never found him. Eventually, everyone believed Mark was gone forever. But now, a message had appeared. The message was short and strange. It said, "Daniel, if you see this message, please come to the old forest. I am still here." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. The message looked real, but it made no sense. How could Mark send a message after being missing for 3 years? At first, Daniel thought it was a prank. Maybe someone had hacked Mark's old phone number, but something about the message felt different. It felt desperate, almost like a cry for help. Daniel's heart started beating faster. The forest mentioned in the message was the same place where Mark disappeared years ago. For a moment, Daniel considered ignoring it, but Mark had been his closest friend. They had grown up together, shared secrets, and helped each other through difficult times. If there was even a small chance that Mark was alive, Daniel knew he had to find out. The next morning, Daniel packed a flashlight, some food, and his phone. He drove for nearly 2 hours until he reached the edge of the forest. The place looked exactly the same as he remembered. Tall trees stretched high into the sky, blocking most of the sunlight. The air felt cold and silent. Even the birds seemed unusually quiet. Daniel checked his phone again. Another message had arrived. "Follow the old trail near the river." Daniel slowly walked into the forest. Every step made the leaves crack under his feet. The deeper he went, the darker the forest became. Daniel looked around nervously. The forest was completely silent. There was no sign of another person anywhere. Then he noticed something strange on the ground. Footprints, fresh footprints. Someone had walked there recently. Daniel followed the footprints deeper into the woods until he reached a small abandoned cabin that looked like it had not been used in years. The door was slightly open. Daniel slowly pushed the door and stepped inside. The room was dark and dusty, but something caught his attention immediately. On the wooden table inside the cabin, there was a phone. Daniel picked it up. It was Mark's phone, but the phone battery was completely dead. Daniel felt confused and frightened. If the phone was dead, then who had been sending the messages? Suddenly, Daniel heard a quiet noise behind him. Slow footsteps coming from outside the cabin. His heart began pounding loudly as the footsteps came closer. The door slowly creaked open. A weak voice whispered from the darkness, "Daniel, you finally came." Daniel turned around slowly. Standing in the doorway was a thin man with long hair and tired eyes. It was Mark. But something about him looked very strange, almost as if he had been living in the forest for years. Mark stepped inside and looked at Daniel with a quiet smile. "I knew you would come," he said softly. Daniel was speechless. He had come to the forest expecting a mystery, but he had never imagined that his missing friend would actually be standing in front of him. And the biggest question still remained. What had really happened to Mark during those 3 missing years in the woods?